Yeah, it's about time I decided to cover the pilot. I talk a lot in these videos about what it was like to watch the show as it was premiering on Cartoon Network, having previews and stuff. But I should mention that I actually watched this pilot air live on TV for the first time. Yeah, I'm that old. Really, the pilot was not something that grabbed my attention. I watched it when it aired, sure, but I didn't start caring about Steven Universe until the real show. First things first as well, this art style. I don't know what to say about this. In an alternate reality, we got this style instead of the one we know and love. It's visually darker, the designs are much more detailed and complex. Would I have preferred this style over the one we got? Probably not, but there's no way to tell. If the show ended up airing with this art style, I probably would have ended up watching it just the same. Each character's design was changed between the pilot and the main show. Steven changed the least, his design was simplified and his pudginess was toned back. That's pretty much it. Garnet only had some minor changes. Her hair is smaller in the pilot, and you'll notice a lot of the gems have a star as a sort of accessory, where in the main show it's part of their outfit. Other than that, Garnet is pretty normal looking. Amethyst looks really similar to her final design. She's got this fanny pack, and her hair is a bit different. Her shirt is more baggy as a result of the higher detail. Same Amethyst all around, though. And then there's Pearl. What on God's green flat earth am I looking at? In terms of her outfit, it almost looks like the outfit she keeps for a majority of the show, other than having this weird baggy thing over her shorts. But what the fuck is going on with her hair and her whole face? Pearl just isn't Pearl without her pointy nose and pointy hair. Pearl is the one part of this old art style that I absolutely dislike. I'm so glad she was changed for the final show. There's going to be a lot of really quick shots that have a lot going on that I'll have to pause at, especially in the intro. There's no way to tell what's going on and where any of these locations are. That being said, this shot lasts half a second. Amethyst is laying on not just a lion, but a tiger as well, and the tiger is wearing jewelry. The intro also shows the temple, which is a lot less impressive than the one in the final show. The way the house is built into it too, the geometry just doesn't quite work in my head. They were definitely leaning more into the fat kid archetype for Steven. Same with the early season 1 as well. They focused so heavily on junk food and kinda dropped it at a certain point. Something that I praise the main show for is the sound design. All of the magic stuff sounds like it's made of magic. That's not present in the pilot. They use a ton of stock sound effects. All of the creative original sound design isn't here. It looks like the things they fight also have star motifs instead of just the crystal gems.
What the heck was that?
An electric skull. Our crystal palace was swarming with them.
First of all, Steven just wasted like half a bag of chips. What the fuck? Second, Crystal Palace, that sounds like it could have been interesting. It must be somewhere different from the temple since they had to warp in. Did you know at this point in the show's development, the gems were beings from a totally other dimension instead of just space? That'll come up again later, but I'm thinking this Crystal Palace could also be in that other dimension.
Can I see that?
Yeah, sure. No, it's extremely powerful. We shouldn't have even brought it home.
Anything time travel is powerful, yes. Time travel usually breaks magic systems in irreparable ways. However, this version of the time thing is way more stunted than the one in Steven and the Stevens. Yes, I'll be calling it the time thing in that episode as well.
Garnet, tell Pearl to let me see the thing.
Remember in earlier episodes when I said that the writers didn't know what to do with Garnet until way later? Well, now it's way earlier, and that case is way more obvious.
If you're evil and you're on the rise, you can count on the four of us taking you down.
I never noticed it before, but the ukulele is tuned differently in the theme song than what it typically is. There's an extended version of the theme song that I'll cover eventually, so I'll save what I have to say until then.
What's with the part about pizzas? That's just a best case scenario.
I appreciate the fat kid energy, though. In this case, it's pretty wholesome.
You want to sing that during battle?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it'll look really cool.
You'll look like a clown.
Not only is Pearl's design worse in the pilot, but her character seems worse as well. Her saying this is important to the episode, yes, but she wouldn't be this crass in the main show.
You don't even have powers in your gem.
This was also the point in the show's development where the big plot point was whether or not Steven had powers at all, instead of knowing that he had them and slowly figuring out how to use them.
Why don't you grab us some donuts?
Ooh, a $3 bill. In the main show, that got downgraded to a $2 bill. Are there any currencies that have this denomination? 3 seems like such a dumb number for money. Oh, I just googled it, and apparently the United States had a 3-cent bill. That's fucking wild. Man, he can just roll out of bed and he's at the Big Donut. No wonder he's a fat kid. Lars and Sadie, being two of the earliest Steven Universe characters designed, look almost exactly the same as they do in the main show. Lars has a different hair color and his ears are saggier, and Sadie is actually 1-to-1 identical.
Well, if it isn't Steven of the Crystal Femmes.
Hey, Lars. Just give me 3 donuts.
Of all the changes between the pilot and the final show, I kinda wish they kept this dynamic between Lars and Steven. Maybe Steven could have kept his positive attitude, and Lars would have been the only one person he couldn't get along with. Maybe that would have messed with his character arc, who knows.
You want me to connect them with a hot dog?
I'm not one to turn down different foods, but that actually looks vile. I'm gonna make one and eat one someday, though.
What are they anyway? Witches or ghosts or something?
They're crystal gems and they save the world like all the time.
Steven barely knows what the crystal gems are. That's something they didn't lean into at all in the final show. Steven doesn't even question a lot of the magic stuff in the final show.
Aren't they all like hot girls?
In this timeline, Lars finds all of the crystal gems hot. Huh. This TV is actually showing the security camera feed. Cool detail.
Oh, I should have said that. That's really funny.
I gotta say, as broken as time travel gets in fiction, this is a really cool use for it. I'm actually really disappointed that the time thing got turned into a magic wishing device in the final show. That one is more like a tool, this one is more like a mysterious artifact. Also, traveling back in time to do a comeback would be the coolest superpower.
Must be tougher for you, Lars. At least people like jokes. Oh, that's what I should have.
I like how quickly Steven learns how the time thing works. Too many times in other shows does it take 2 or 3 times for a character to learn to use a simple thing like this. It's intuitive, that makes for a good magic item. Sorry, that's the dungeon master in me talking. Incidentally, I'm running a Pathfinder campaign this summer.
Why did you give him that?
He wanted to see it. I was letting him see it.
Why did Amethyst just hand it off to him? Did she think he wasn't gonna use it? Does she even know how it works? Maybe nobody knew how it works, so she just assumed that he couldn't find out either?
We've been protecting that hourglass for 1,000 years. Now that it's activated, it can only be used by you for its chosen purpose.
You're telling me that the time thing existed for at least 1,000 years, and in that time nobody decided to pick it up and try it out? The gems must have incredible senses of self-control. I would have lasted a couple days at most.
Comebacks? You used it for comebacks?
Look outside.
I don't know if it's just bad audio mixing or one of those early show weak line reads from Garnet. Maybe both. Look outside, with zero energy or sense of urgency. Lars and Sadie teleport outside between shots.
Gems, call your weapons.
Call your weapons. That's another thing relating to the gems being from another dimension. In the early show's development, they pulled their weapons from that other dimension, instead of from their gems. See the portals? I believe their gems just open the portals. Also, the gems get fucked on pretty hard in this fight. This is probably one of the reasons this pilot didn't really impress me when I first saw it. These versions of the gems don't feel like magical superheroes like in the final show.
Why am I such a buttface? I know you are, but what if... No, that's not good enough.
That's a pretty good one. It's this intense climactic situation and Steven's like, nah, I can do better. Consider that while Steven's coming up with this comeback, he's watching Garnet get horribly electrocuted. I know Garnet has electric powers in the final show. I wonder if that's the case in this early version as well.
I can't help it. What's your excuse?
You did it.
What if he didn't, though? Like, what if he came up with that on the spot? I get that the idea is Garnet knows him well enough that she knew he couldn't come up with one on the spot, but still, what would happen if he never went back in time? There's another one of those stock sound effects. Fucking stock pig squeal. I've heard that in a million different pieces of media. Another big difference here in the pilot is that this gem monster doesn't drop a gem when they kill it. This was like its own thing, I guess. The magic system is way softer this early on. There doesn't seem to be any clear rules. So there's still another time thing, right? This was before Amethyst gave it to him, so she still has it. And that one hasn't been activated yet. In the final show when Steven breaks it, there's this sense of finality. It's gone and it's never coming back.
Don't make fun of Steven.
Yeah. This clown is gonna save your lives.
It's kinda clunky, but what can I say? It's iconic. That was different. I don't really have strong opinions about the pilot. I know that's probably kind of a lame conclusion to come to, but like, what opinions are there to have? I could say I wish they expanded on the temple and the gem monsters, but like, they did in the full show. It's just that so much has changed that they expanded on a totally different version. Other than the characters though, this almost feels like a totally different show or like an alternate timeline kind of thing. There's a lot of cases where they pitch a pilot for a show and that ends up becoming the first episode, and it just makes me wonder what the show would have been like if they'd locked in the story and the world and the magic system right here. How different of a show would it have been story-wise? We'll never know, and that kind of makes part of me sad, but then we wouldn't have gotten the version that we got. I don't think I'd want to miss out on what we have now. There are parts of the full show that I can't stand, but there are at least twice as many moments that are so good they actually make me tear up. That's why I still love this show, that's why it still lived in my head for so long, and that's why I started doing gemology in the first place. I wonder if I'd be in the same position today if we got that alternate timeline version of the show. Again, there's no way to know, but that's fine. I like where I am now. Anyway, if you want to see new episodes a week in advance, you can subscribe to my Patreon for just a couple bucks. The link is in the description. Shoutouts to my journeyman patrons, Alex Martin, Boomblorp, Emily, Fiore Army, Hey to Jihirthagur, Ray Lynn, Sindirant, Scala LD, Stephen Wickers, and the Tamara. Also shoutouts to these apprentice patrons. Next week, we're returning to the main show with Steven and the Stevens.